At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, the Pentagon says that they are winning by far, that the attacks have been enormously successful. And the president is touting air superiority, also saying that there's about 20 Navy ships from the Iranian Navy, past tense, that are now at the bottom of the ocean. And they're having enormous success ahead of schedule. And of course, the big fear is the retaliation. You're seeing so many of these Iranian drones and also missiles, some of them getting through, hitting U.S. bases, hitting U.S. embassies, things like that. By the way, they also went after Turkey today. That's a biggie because, of course, Turkey is not always someone you would think would get involved in this fight or get pulled into it, but maybe now they are, that a drone strike there was thwarted against Turkey. So that's a big deal. And in the middle of all this, everybody's worried about what is going to happen to the homeland. What should we be looking out for? And earlier we talked with Chris Schwecker. He was with the FBI. He was head of criminal investigations for a long time. And here is what he had to say.
Yeah, I think the biggest threat are cells that have been in the country for quite a while, Hezbollah or Hamas, but mostly Hezbollah. You know, they are probably the most prolific terrorist organization in the world. They've killed more Americans than any other terrorist organization other than Al-Qaeda. So they've killed thousands. They have been here for a while, and of course, during the 4 years of open borders on the last administration, we had 2 million gotaways. By definition, we don't know who they are or where they are. So it's certain that other cell members have infiltrated into the country during that time period. You know, we took out a Hezbollah cell here in Charlotte in the early 2000s. We arrested 19 people. It's the only prosecution, full-on prosecution of a Hezbollah cell in our history, really. We've done one-offs, but not an entire cell. And that tells you that they're out there. And they have a sort of a formalized presence of card-carrying members who are mostly fundraising, but we have sympathizers everywhere.
Yeah, that is scary when you think about it. And again, he was head of criminal investigations at the FBI. We're definitely worried. And look, there's a lot of big events that happen all the time in America, concerts, look at mass transportation areas, the soccer is coming up, all the World Cup. There's a lot of big issues. This is a very hot place right now in terms of potential terror threats. And our law enforcement really has their work cut out for them. But yet, if you listen to Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat of Connecticut, he said, sleeper cells? What sleeper cells? Listen to this one.
In light of potential sleeper cells now here in the U.S. and the necessity to ensure the safety of American citizens, can you just explain how continuing to keep DHS shut down and unfunded is beneficial?
Sleeper cells? I'm not sure I understood the question.
In light of the Iran attack, sleeper cells, people who are let in under Biden, the millions of aliens let in, can you explain how the American people aren't protected when DHS is still shut down?
Well, I haven't seen evidence of sleeper cells, and certainly no evidence that sleeper cells are related to recent immigrants under the Biden administration or the Trump administration, there certainly is a need for vigilance about our national security, no question, in light of what is happening in the Middle East. And we have to be watchful, not overly fearful. There needs to be investigation by the FBI. We have a domestic terrorism unit there, as well as in the Department of Justice. And in the Department of Homeland Security, the Homeland Security Investigations Unit. And unfortunately, reports are that resources devoted to those units have been turned instead to immigration issues. So I would say the answer to your question is that the abundant resources already allocated to DHS should be focused on our national security and investigation of any possible threats.
What's incredible is you heard him say sleeper cells, like what sleeper cells? And this guy is a senior ranking U.S. senator. And then it all goes back to ICE. Blame ICE, blame ICE, blame this. It must be ICE's fault. I mean, these people have no appreciation of the fact that we all have to be one American right now. And I want to play this comment because we got a comment in from John Fetterman, but he responded to Gavin Newsom. And I want to play Gavin Newsom's comment because this is one of the big rising stars on the Democratic Party. He very well will be running for president. Seems like he's a footstep away from putting his toe in officially in the race, but it looks like he's running. He's on a big book tour. And he used to be a big supporter of Israel, but now suddenly that President Trump and Israel are aligned to bring peace to the world. I guess that's not a good thing. Listen to Gavin Newsom again.
And a lot of Democrats have looked at the Netanyahu regime and felt like, you know what, we don't like the trajectory he's on. It's time to rethink the U.S. relationship with Israel, especially military support.
Well,
where do you stand?
Making that easy right now. Let's talk about that. But the issue of Bibi's interesting because he's got his own domestic issues. He's trying to stay out of jail. He's got an election coming up. He's potentially on the ropes. He's got folks, the hard line, that want to annex the West Bank. I mean, Freeman and others are talking about it appropriately, sort of an apartheid state. They couldn't even, I mean, we're talking about regime change. For 2 years, they haven't even been able to solve the Hamas question in Israel. So this is, I mean, you know, I want to be careful here, but, you know, in so many ways, that influence in the context of the conversation of where Trump ultimately landed on this is pretty damn self-evident.
That is a remarkable statement from someone who used to be a big supporter of Israel, but now he clearly has Trump derangement syndrome. Trump said the other day that he could cure cancer, and Democrats would say, why did you do that to the pharmaceutical companies? That's like this. Why did you hurt that nice, sweet Ayatollah? Seems like such a nice man. Just because he was on the verge of nuclear weapons and he slaughtered, 30, 40,000 plus of his own people. Nah. I mean, it really is just eye-opening to the degree and the politics that I find the Democrats have lost their mind. And that really saddens me because we should all be one America. You think after 9/11, we were one America. Then, of course, things got divided later, but we were one America. We were rooting for George Bush. We were rooting for the red, white, and blue. We were all together because we were horribly attacked and we saw evil at our front door. You can't wait for evil to get to its front door. Isn't it a lot better to get it elsewhere before it can even come knocking at your door, especially if you know it's going to come knocking, if they're chanting death to America, death to the big Satan and the mosques all over the place in Iran? I would think it's a good idea to prevent it. And I never thought I'd say this, Mr. Hello, good night. Good old John Fetterman. He has been like the complete voice of reason in the Democratic Party. Hasn't he been, you guys? I mean, it's amazing. This guy has really been just Mr. Common Sense saying, why are the Democrats doing this? This is all politics. And in fact, there was a vote today on this War Powers resolution saying that the president doesn't have the authority to do this operation. Luckily, it failed. But the only Democrat who went with Republicans and said, yeah, the president does have the authority was John Fetterman. So just a little bit ago, I wanted to play this for you guys because it just came out. John Fetterman responded to these comments by Gavin Newsom, and he took Gavin Newsom to task. Here is John Fetterman.
And that's another truth here about the Democratic Party. We're coming more and more anti-Israel. You know, Governor Newsom announced, now he just described Israel as an apartheid state. I mean, that's a talking point of the fringe of my party. And that's profoundly disappointing. I mean, I was shocked. I mean, overall, I mean, he might be more liberal, but I never thought he would actually go that way and would describe our strong special ally, you know, the only nation in that region that lives the kind of values that they would live like in California.
Right.
Hey, I've been in Israel. Tel Aviv is like San Diego version of Israel. And now you just described that as apartheid state. I mean, that's a betrayal of the moral clarity. And I can't imagine what he thinks that's the right side of history.
Bravo to John Fetterman. He was there on News Nation. I mean, he really has been like the lone guy out there condemning and understands the relationship. I mean, you know, it's going to be an interesting year for John Fetterman because the Democrats are trying to get everybody on the loony kazoonie phase, and John Fetterman is saying no thanks. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Rob in Long Island on line 4. Rob, thank you for waiting. Feel free to pick it up. You were making some good points there.
No problem. And before I do, just one point on the biggest narcissistic, sanctimonious, self-serving windbag that ever spent time in government is that Newsom. He's a disgrace. To call Israel apartheid, it's unbelievable. Here's a friend of ours that believes in what we believe in, Judeo-Christian values, the survival of Western civilization. They fight for the same thing we fight for, and those are the words he spews. He's a disgrace.
It is, and he knows better. He knows better. I mean, you know what's amazing, Rob, is that he was a decent supporter of Israel. He went over there. He's been talking about it a lot for years. But then when it really matters, when you really need to show a spine, and it's actually not really a tough choice. It's like, are you on the side of good or are you on the side of evil? Right. You know, it's not a trick question. So it doesn't take, I don't even think, a lot of spine to say, I'm on the side of getting rid of one of the world's worst people ever. I might raise my hand in a second. Absolutely. So when it came down to it, he is such a political animal. And that really is sad. At a time like this, where we should be banding together to support a great mission, a noble mission, and he wants to be the commander in chief.
Hopefully that never happens. And Rita, one other quick point on Hakeem Jeffries, who's never had one solution to any problem. His uncle is Leonard Jeffries, who was a political scientist, studies Black studies at City College of New York, and a protege of guess who? Crazy Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And President Trump should have got the Ayatollah cockamamie 47 years ago. It took a long time, but thank God there was a purpose for President Trump, and he proved it a few days ago when he wiped them out, let them wipe out the rest of the mullahs, and let them wipe out the IRGC. Either wipe them out or have them change allegiance. That's got to be the options, and that's how they do regime change in Iran, and it's got to happen, and it'll be good for not only the U.S. but the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And the three items I wanted to talk about, the three greatest threats to this country, existential threats as I see them, number one is Islam. Islam is the biggest, greatest threat to this country. And the proof, as you can see, is what has happened in Dallas, in Houston, in Dearborn, in Paterson, New Jersey.
And what's number, and Rob, just because we have a little bit of time, what's 2 and 3?
2 and 3 is the immigration from third world countries. That has to stop. And number 3 is the out-of-wedlock births in this country. In 1965, it was 7%. It's 40% now. And in the black community, it's 70%. And if you look at all the crimes that are committed, especially minority crimes, these teenagers or older, the common denominator is single-parent families.
Well, and and Rob, not even by race, but if you look at what you're just talking about by, not having good role models in the family, or not having having an absent parent, it does make a difference in people's homes, regardless of color. You look at how important it is to have good role models, good parents trying to help, or just good mentors in your life. All of those things are really important. Rob, really interesting. You got to call back again. It's great to hear from you. And, I don't necessarily say Islam, but I do say Islamists clearly are a huge threat, I think. And as we've seen, one of the greatest Islamist fanatics was the Ayatollah, who is no more. 1-800-848-9222, everybody. We will continue your calls on The Rita Cosby Show right after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This is The Rita Cosby Show.
Well, we talked about making the right choice for history. You guys know I always read your Twitter comments, and here on X, I am being told this one's a good one. This one comes from Snowmass Dog, and she says, "It is not enough that we do our best. Sometimes we have to do what's required." It's a phrase from Winston Churchill. Couldn't be better said. It's not enough that we do our best. Sometimes we have to do what's required. And that is exactly what President Trump did, meeting the moment. Couldn't be better said. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. When we come back, we are going to also continue with your calls on this. Also, I was so sad to hear about Lou Holtz today, you guys. My friend, the great Notre Dame football coach, Coach Holtz, who passed away. And what a great American. And I'm going to play a little bit of a special interview I did with him not that long ago.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on.
And the sun is rising in Iran, so is the bomb damage assessment, and so are the missile damage assessment. So we'll see what another day brings. President Trump says the biggest strikes are yet to come. And just in, a new poll, this is a Siena poll, talking about the New York governor's race, because we just heard recently Kathy Hochul was critical, saying, why are we getting into this war in the Middle East, sort of towing the party line, if you will. And Bruce Blakeman is narrowing the gap, behind Kathy Hochul in this new Siena poll. I mean, he still has a ways to go, but he is narrowing the gap a little bit. Bruce Blakeman, the Republican, he gained about 6 percentage points on Governor Kathy Hochul in the last month. And he is definitely getting closer. He's getting in striking distance in the very critical New York City suburbs. This is this new Siena University poll. Still has Kathy Hochul 20 points above him, but in January, she had a 26-point lead. So it looks like the gap is narrowing, and there still is certainly time between now and Election Day in November. So we'll see where it goes. And obviously, there's a lot of big issues on the table. Obviously, the war, but also border security, ICE, crime. There are a lot of biggies. And remember, last time, Lee Zeldin came very close in that race against Kathy Hochul. So let's see what Bruce Blakeman does. This will be an interesting year. There is no doubt. And you can tell Democrats are willing to say anything because it's midterm year. And last night was the primaries, and we were with you guys when all the results were coming in. President Trump saying in the Texas Senate race, that he put out that he is going to endorse somebody because the race ended up with too close to call. And the top ones, if you don't hit 50% in the Texas Senate race, it goes to a runoff. And that's going to happen in May. And so John Cornyn and now Ken Paxton, who are running against each other, they're both Republicans. Congressman Wesley Hunt was in the race. But he's no longer in. He got like 12 or 13%. But Cornyn got 42% and Paxton got 41%. I mean, they were right there neck and neck. So I don't know who President Trump is going to endorse. But President Trump came out a little bit ago saying he's going to endorse one of them. And whoever he endorses, he hopes the other drops out. So he's obviously spending a lot of time trying to see who is going to beat the Democratic challenger. And the Democratic challenger is not going to be Jasmine Crockett. That's the good news, because crazy Jasmine Crockett did not win. So I was thinking, okay, well, the other person is considered the more moderate one of the race. Can you believe this? Wait till you hear what this guy, his name is James Tallarico. A lot of people didn't know much about him, but he's been speaking out on issues. And he claims to be the more moderate one of the race. Wait till you hear what he said about why not we just have a big, wide open southern border. I guess he didn't learn from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This is what James Tallarico, who won last night on the Democratic side, he's going to face either Cornyn or Paxton. And this is what he said about open borders.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
Our southern border should be like a front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat. Come one, come all. I don't care if you're a criminal. Come one, come all. And also, this is what he had to say about God.
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
God is non-binary. That's a first. And then, this isn't a trick question. How many sexes are there? Well, James Tallarico, again, who is now the Democratic nominee for Texas Senate. Can you imagine if this is the guy who turns Texas blue? He can count the sexes on more than one hand.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6, which honestly, Representative Hefner surprised me too. Surprised me too, because I am not well versed in this issue area. I'm not a scientist. I'm a politician, a lot worse than a scientist.
I mean, there are 6 sexes. Wow. James Tallarico, he is, again, considered to be the moderate in the race. That is a doozy. Let's go to Liz in Florida. Liz, your thoughts tonight.
As President Trump has said, they're all crazy. Oh, my gosh. It gets crazier and crazier. But I wanted to say that Iran has finally showed their true colors to the world by sending missiles everywhere, and especially to their so-called allies, Qatar, Dubai. And the day will come very soon, Rita, that America and Israel will never have that threat against them. There will be peace in the Middle East, and finally Israel can live without having to hear sirens go off every 5 minutes, where they run into the safe rooms, and the children will finally live without fear. And that's the day I'm looking forward to. And I hope that after this project, I hope we can fix the Democrats. They're a different kind of terror group. They're not putting America first, and they're causing havoc. And can you imagine?
And Liz, though, what's sad, Liz? I believe there's probably a lot of decent people in that group, and I'm talking about on the Democrats, that don't want to speak out because they're afraid if they speak out, if they don't go along with the loony fringe. Like at first it was a loony fringe. Now it's the whole party, and they're willing to sell their souls. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but they're willing to sell their souls for some political messaging. Trump bad, no matter what, right? That should be the campaign sticker, Liz.
You're right. I mean, it's all political, and it's so sad. I mean, can you imagine if we got those missiles coming to us, right? And we were being attacked. What would they say? Oh, beautiful fireworks in the sky, right? And the thing with the sleeper cells, I mean, that reporter should have really explained it a little better, because these are terrorists and they await orders from their superiors. But listen to this: if there are no more superiors to give orders, what then?
Well, and by the way, the reporter's job is not to explain to a sitting senator who's been there forever about sleeper cells. Like the fact that he sounded clueless. I don't know what's more scary, that he's in denial or that he's clueless. Either one, Liz, is not a good thing. That is for sure. Let's go to Teddy on line 2. Teddy, your thoughts tonight?
Rita, first of all, I agree that what Trump did was the right thing to do. Okay, I'll just give me a chance to talk. Hear me out, please.
We'll hear you out. Go ahead, Teddy.
Okay. I try to be objective on both sides. I already explained to you, I don't care for the far left. I don't care for how the Democratic Party is proceeding with their agenda. Okay? I don't care for the far right. I support Massey, Republican Massey. I like Tillis. And I would like to hear your comments on Trump's criticism of the Republican right that is attacking him. And I want to ask you, what are they attacking him for? And
I'll give you. Actually, Teddy, that's a great question. And I'm glad you started out that you believe he did the right thing, because I would say the same thing if Joe Biden was doing this tonight, or Obama, but they didn't. Instead, they gave cash and turned a blind eye, and it was appeasement. But I agree with you, Teddy, because an action is an action. Now, I think here, first of all, it's pretty easy. Unfortunately, Massey and Rand Paul, because today on the vote for the war powers, Rand Paul voted against the other Republicans. He voted with the Democrats. So you have Massey there in the House and you have Rand Paul in the Senate. And both of them are really neo-isolationists. I mean, they believe that America should not get involved in these wars. I mean, Rand Paul is not also, same thing with Ukraine. He doesn't think we should be involved in Ukraine. And they really believe no matter what, unless it's barring a 9/11 where they're physically hitting on our soil. And I'm not even sure where Massey would stand at that moment, quite frankly. But they firmly believe under no circumstance should we get involved in these wars, that we should just kind of let them fight it out on their own. And I guess we wait till they get to our doorstep. I don't agree with them. And obviously,
I don't either.
And by the way, obviously the president doesn't either. I mean, and I think most Americans in polls don't either. But listen, that's how they feel. they're at least pretty straight ahead. I wasn't surprised. I would have been surprised if they voted with the president because they seem to have a pretty consistent record. But that's where it is. And, I'm glad, I'm glad you say otherwise. I'm glad I say otherwise. We're all interconnected in this world. And look how many attempts Iran has had against Americans, killed Americans through the years. They are an enormous threat. And you understand that, Teddy, and I appreciate that about you. Yep, Teddy, thank you very much. It's great to hear from you. Thank you so much. And everybody, I want to play a little clip tonight because I was very sad. I learned just a little bit ago that Lou Holtz passed away. He was, of course, just the amazing, very successful Notre Dame football coach, but also a great American. He got the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Trump in his first term. And I wanted to play a little clip that I just thought was fitting. I interviewed Lou a number of times. You guys know I went to University of South Carolina. He also was a coach at South Carolina as well. But I had the honor to meet and spend time with Lou and talk to him. He was in hospice, and he passed away today at the age of 89. And I wanted to play this little clip from an interview that I did with him on my show just a few years ago. You guys may remember this. I asked him what he thought of the Biden administration because they were the ones in power. And I also asked him to look back on what he loved about America and getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Tell me also your thoughts about how the administration's doing. You received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from then President Trump. How would you rate this administration and the values of this administration?
Well, I would rate it very, very high. Let me say this about the Medal of Freedom. There are many more people who are more deserving of it than me, but nobody's more appreciative of it than me, but it doesn't define who I am. What's going to define who I am are my children and the choices they make. But when I look at this administration, I look at this country. Hey, I think that the worst thing about this country, of course, was the problems that we had with slavery. But you just tell me one, this I ask, tell me one thing a black cannot do legally that I can do. If there is something, I'll go to the ground and fight for it. But other than that, everybody should be exactly the same. Everybody should have the same opportunity. And that's what made this country great, was you have the opportunity to succeed or fail. There's no guarantee that you're going to succeed when you go do something. But I spoke at a luncheon yesterday for 1776 in Tampa. Beautiful affair. Linda McMahon was there. It was Brooks Rollins, who was homecoming queen. She was a Cotton Bowl queen when I was coaching Notre Dame and we played A&M. But it was just a great affair. But as I said to them, we're just like the Patriots were in 1776. We got to be able to stand up and express our points of view and fight for these things. The Constitution has been great, but now we're trying to change the Constitution. We're trying to change everything in this world, and that's not the way it should be. And if remember this, I said, I believe this by my heart. We're the good people in this fight. We're trying to save this country. We're trying to do the things we believe. And I'm an old man, but Rita, the one thing I remember was there was a time where the Democrats and the Republicans had a difference of opinion. And the difference of opinion we had the same objective. Keep this country safe and give people a chance to succeed. Now, the difference of opinion was they had a different idea how to accomplish that than the Republicans did. But when you have a difference of opinion, you can compromise because you have the same objective. What I noticed today, we don't have that same objective. What the Democrats are is about power and about transforming this country and changing it the way they want it, and the minority of the people, not the majority. And so when you have a difference of opinion, now you can, when you have a problem is we have different objectives on it. And I just think you have to stand up. And I don't want my tombstone to say, here lies Lou Holtz, born January 6, 1937, died October 11, 2021, buried August 18, 2029. I want to live to the day I die. And unfortunately, what's happened the last couple of years, the government has tried to keep me alive by keeping me from living. and I just want to be able to live my life, make my own choices, go on this. But we have an obligation to the younger people, and I don't want to be one of my grandchildren say, I wonder where Papa was when this was all going on. So that's why I'm going to take an active involvement. I am not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to have people ridicule me. They can do that all they want. But I believe in what we're doing, and I'm going to stand up for it.
And I'm going to stand up for it. And boy, was he a fighter for all Americans. And he truly loved this country and one of the great football coaches ever. My friend, Coach Lou Holtz, who passed away at the age of 89 just a few hours ago. And now let's go to support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from our nation's capital, where on March 2nd, just 2 days ago, on National Iwo Jima Remembrance Day, 101-year-old Iwo Jima survivor Joe Caminiti was one of 15 World War II veterans attending this year's event at the nation's capital. Now, he also described what he went through to the audience. He shared stories about how he landed in the 10th wave on the first day of fighting. And for the next 35 days, veteran Caminiti transported critical supplies in his amphibious tractor, as well as carried troops to the front lines. He retrieved the dead, and he evacuated wounded service members to aid stations on the beach. Each night, he pulled guard duty along the line between Mount Suribachi and the island's airfield. Of the 100 Connecticut service members that were killed during the Battle of Iwo Jima, he said he does not know how many he may have transported, but he is thankful to be alive to share this story and for future generations. What a powerful story, and how beautiful that he was recognized along with so many other members of the greatest generation. And everybody support America's military and first responder heroes. Donate just $11 a month to make an incredible difference in the lives of our heroes and their also heroic families. And the best way to do it is to go to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the absolute best, led by the great Frank Siller, who honors his brother, Stephen Siller, every day with this incredible organization. This organization is the best. Be sure to check out Tunnel to Towers Foundation at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Well, you know, when you have the radio on, you're doing okay, guys, especially when you're listening to the Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania, line 1. Go ahead, Joaquin.
Oh, Rita, you know something? Your friend Lou Holtz, that statement that you played before that he made, it was beautiful. It was just incredible.
Was it? You know, what a great man. And his message was, I'm not going to cower. I'm not going to, fold. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in for this country and pass it on to future generations. I'm really sad. I'm thinking a lot about Lou. I interviewed him many times through the years and met him many times. And he was just one of those just characters and lovely, great souls. He'd always say, Rita, how you doing? I love you. I love you. We talk about our Gamecocks from South Carolina, but just also one of those people who really love this country, Joaquin.
Yes. And you know something, I got my first notation actually was about what you said at the beginning of the program. You were so right when you pointed out the fact that they are probably killing their own civilians, to try and make it look bad for us. Just the same as was going on with Gaza and the Palestinians. Most of those civilians that were getting killed by their own, to try and make a statement. They really don't care about life in that respect. And I got to also say that the caller Rob earlier, he was right on the money. And when I have a little bit more time, I can really lay out the three fundamental differences between the three Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam.
And do me a favor, Joaquin. Call me tomorrow night. We'll spend some more time and go through it tomorrow night because he was hitting on all the different layers. And boy, are we dealing with a lot of it right now. But we'll see what happens. The sun is rising in Tehran. And you're right. I wouldn't put anything past the Iranians. They're killing their own people. It's clear.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.